Hi, good evening. Welcome to Sports Today. You are live with me, Rajashi Gupta. The toss has just taken place in the third T20I between India and Sri Lanka. Shikhar Dhawan has won the toss, and he says India will bat first in this series decider. Of course, India were batting first last night in that second T20, which they lost by 4 wickets with in the last over with just a couple of deliveries to spare. This is a series decider, proper series decider. India won the first game pretty convincingly. Sri Lanka bounced back against a depleted Indian team. We all know by now why this is a depleted team because of course Kunal Pandya had tested positive for COVID-19. The game was postponed to yesterday. It was supposed to be played on Tuesday, and India had four debutants because the players who were in close contact with Kunal had been isolated, um, had to be isolated. Therefore, you had four debutants in Ruturaj Gaikwad, Devdutt Padikkal, both of whom impressed, and of course, alongside Nitish Rana and Chetan Sakaria. Well, there's another debutant for India tonight. It's Sandeep Warrior gets his first T20I cap, and that's the update then from the Indian team. Just that one debutant again tonight, Sandeep Warrior gets his T20I cap and Navdeep Saini, he's of course replacing Navdeep Saini. So that's the only change for India. While for Sri Lanka, Isru Udana is out with an injury, and in comes Pathum Nissanka. So that's Sri Lanka have strengthened their batting lineup really in this series deciding game. India, you saw their approach last night. It was almost bordering on caution because they realized it was a spongy pitch. It had a little bit of turn slow. There was some slow turn on the pitch, and the Sri Lankan spinners really exploited that well. Shikhar Dhawan wanted to carry through and explode probably later on in the innings for a few more runs, but that wasn't to be. And India ended with what they thought would have been 10, 15 runs short, right? The bowlers, albeit a little inexperienced apart from Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Kuldeep Yadav there, uh, they did they did really well to take that game down to the last over, right down to the wire. So they'd want India would want to close this out. And this is not the first time, by the way, where India have been forced to dig deep into the reserves. Remember, in Australia, on the tour of Australia, in the Test series after that Adelaide Test match, where Virat Kohli was anyway scheduled to come back home for the birth of his child, there were some injuries to other senior cricketers, and by the time they came to Brisbane, they had to field quite a few of the reserve players. Among them, of course, Washington Sundar, Shardul Thakur, who had just played one test match prior to that. Then Tina Trajan got a look in as well in a test match before they went to Brisbane, and yet they managed to defeat Australia at home. That was a spirited performance. But this is, of course, a lot of these cricketers um, wouldn't have been in line really to play international cricket this early, but their IPL experience will kind of give them that confidence to do well at top draw cricket. Well, then I'll just get to the playing 11. It's Shikhar Dhawan, the captain, Ruturaj Gaikwad. So they are the two openers, Dhawan and Ruturaj Gaikwad. Devdutt Padikkal, Sanju Samson, um, at number four, Nitish Ran at number five, Bhuvneshwar Kumar at number six. So that's again a very wafer thin batting lineup for the Indians. The top five specialist batsmen before Bhuvneshwar Kumar, the all-rounder, walks in. At Sandeep Warrior at number seven, Chetan Sakaria, Kuldeep Yadav, Varun Chakravarti, and Rahul Chahar. So that's the lineup for you. That's the Indian lineup for you. For Sri Lanka, it's Avishka Fernando, Minat Bhanuka, Sadira Saravikrama, Dhananjay De Silva, Pathum Nisanka, who comes in for Isrudana tonight, Ramesh Mendis, Dashant Shanaka, the captain, was Wanindu Hasaranga, Chamika, Kanaratne, Dushmanta Chamida, and Akila Dhananjaya. That's the 11 for Sri Lanka, where this is where the two teams are now headed for the final game of India's tour of Sri Lanka. India have been impressive. They've come with some of the most talented youngsters under Shikhar Dhawan and coach Rahul Dravid. These guys have done so well. They won the ODIs 2-1. The T20I series is now level 1-1, and we'll see who aces this decider. One word before I go, it's been really heartening to see. It was heartening to see the likes of Ruturaj Gaikwad and Devdutt Padikkal. Didn't get too many, got got starts there, but it wasn't an easy pitch to bat on, and they suddenly been thrusted into the limelight, into the big league, and they were really impressive at Dipsat Padikkal. He was the first male cricketer who was born this century to play for India, the first male cricketer to do that. So that was a bit of a that was quite a that was quite a feat for him to achieve, right? That's a nice little ring to that record for Devdutt Patikal. One would expect he would go ahead and uh, break a few more records. Of course, he scored his first IPL 100 earlier in the year for Royal Challengers Bangalore. He'd hope to get some more runs tonight as India look to close out this tour on a high and win this T20I series along to go with their ODI series triumph. Well, thank you so much, Anit Sadhu. I have given you the team already. Both the Indian and the Sri Lankan teams both have made one change. Sandeep Warrior comes in for Navdeep Saini. Isrudana is injured. He is making way for Patham Nisanka because Sri Lanka now wanted to strengthen the batting. So that's the update. India have won the toss and they will bat first in this series decider. In this series decider of the T20 International Series. I'll come back to you soon after this game to see what happened down there and who won the series at the end. Thank you so much for joining me. Do subscribe to Sport Today. And do I need to tell you, we've been getting a lot of stuff from the Olympics, exclusive analysis, interviews, and of course, breaking news from Tokyo. Warrior Mojumdar is there, and he'll continue to get you the very best from games. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.